Okay, so we're going to look at where the hell does harmony come from? We'll start with that note right there. There's a C, and you can see that that's on the keyboard there. It's a C, and on that keyboard there, it's that C there. And right now it's a little bit alone, it's a little bit all by itself, and we're trying to work out which notes sound good with it. Now, if that was a bit of metal, and when you bang the metal, it made that noise right there. And if we halve that piece of metal, right, what you end up with is that note there, and that's an octave. It's exactly 8 notes apart from this one here, which is why, you know, octave, octopus, octagon, it's 8 notes up. Let's have a look at that. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, an octave by itself sounds fairly spare. I mean, there's some really sort of rich harmony you can use, like that's a nice consonance, here's a dissonance, there's a dissonance, here's another nice consonance, right? An octave is kind of like a spare sound, a sparse sound, like that. There's nothing rich about it. Okay, it's a perfect octave. If we took that bit of metal there, and if we kept on dividing by 2/3, I won't bore you with all of the stuff about it, but basically if you take that, divide by 2/3, and the next one divide by 2/3, etc., etc., what you end up with is a scale, right? And if you put them into the right octave, etc., it's a little bit complex. Now what we've got there, let's just ignore that one for a second because that's the C up an octave. What we've got there is a major scale. We've got C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And that guy there is C. Now in Sibelius we can transpose that really easily into any key we want. If we take the first bar like that, select it, shift select the last bar, Shift T, and now we're in C. It says we're in C and we want to go up by key. Let's go up to, say, A. There we go. And what that's done is that's transposed what we had to A. So let's imagine that it's a different bit of metal that we struck, and it gave us that noise rather than that noise. Okay, and what it's done is it's maintained the relationships between those notes. So let's go back to where our C major scale was. There we go. The relationship between these notes is special. There we go. So the first one, between the first two, you notice there's a note in between. Between the second two, there's a note in between. Between the next two, these two here, there's no black note in between there. There's no note in between. Okay, between these two here, there's a black note in between, or a note. We call it a note because it's not always going to be a black note. It'll depend on the key. Between these two here, there's a black note in between. These two here, there's a black note in between. These two here, there's no note in between. So what we've got here essentially is a big gap, a big gap, a little tiny gap, a big gap, a big gap, a big gap, and a little tiny gap. In music we call that a tone, another tone, a semitone, tone, 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 and a semitone. If we were to write it out, how do I write this out? What's the best way of writing it out? Text. Just box text, there we go. Beautiful. It would be tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That's a major scale. Minor scales are different, but just for now, that's our major scale. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Beautiful. So that's our major scale, and that relationship is going to be the same. Let's do our transposing trick again. We want to go up to, let's say we're going to go up to G this time. We're going to go up. There we go. Let's have a look at our relationship. We want tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Tone, very good. Tone, Very good. This one needs to be a semitone. It is. You see there's no note in between there. We need this one to be a tone. Tone. This one needs to be a tone. It is. Good. This one needs to be a tone. You can see there's been a change here. We've started using black notes. The reason why, if we use that note in there, it would not be a semitone. Okay, so there we go. We've got a tone there, and notice how that neatly makes the last one a semitone for us. This is important because when we get to, let's go back to this C major scale. Come on, C major scale, where are you? There you are. This is important because when we get to, say, a really complex sort of scale, like let's say G flat major, you notice that you know, every single note except for one has got a flat on it, but that doesn't matter because you note that for tone, tone, semitone, there's a tone, there's a tone, there's a semitone, there's a tone, there's a tone, there's a tone, and there's a semitone. Notice that it's just the same thing. So basically this here, right, is our template for absolutely every major scale, no matter what they are. Okay, and you can see that, you know, there's a fair few of them there. Okay, so there's all the options for the major scales. Now, that's all well and good, but what we actually want is to start making some harmony. The reason why we've looked at the scale is because the scale is where we're going to get our harmony from. I'm going to do that in video 2.